The transport ship docked at Horizon 7 with a soft hiss of pressure seals. The station was old. Its walls were gray and tired. The lights flickered sometimes. It floated in the darkness of space, orbiting a world that nobody cared about. This was a place where the galaxy sent people it wanted to forget. Stood at the transport's exit door. He did not move for a long time. The crew behind him waited. They were afraid of him. He could smell their fear. It was a sharp, sour smell that all prey animals made when they were near something dangerous. His people were warriors. They stood 8 feet tall with bodies covered in hard, black plates like armor. They had claws that could cut through metal. Their eyes were completely black like deep pools of ink. And beneath their chest plates they had veins that glowed with soft light. The light showed their emotions. Blue meant calm. Red meant anger. Gold meant love. Veins showed nothing. They were dark, dead. They called this condition Hora. It meant the walking dead in their language. When lost everyone they loved, when they saw too much death, when their spirit broke completely, their light went out. And it never came back. In 4,000 years of history, not one warrior had ever recovered from Hora. Not one. A medical officer approached him carefully. She was a small creature with gray skin and 4 arms. She held a data pad and tried not to shake. "Warrior," she said, "welcome to Horizon 7. You have been assigned to Ward 17. Please follow the lights on the floor." Said nothing. He walked past her. His footsteps were heavy on the metal floor. Each step made a sound like thunder. The crew watched him go. They were relieved. Ward 17 was at the far end of the station. It was the oldest part, the part with the worst lights and the coldest air. The doors here did not open smoothly. The walls had cracks. This was where the station kept the patients that nobody wanted to see. The terminal cases, the hopeless ones, the ones waiting to die. His room was small. It had a bed that was too short for him. It had a single chair. It had a window that looked out at the stars. That was all. He stood at the window for a long time. He looked at the stars. He had conquered some of those stars once. He had led armies across the void. He had been a commander, a hero, a legend among his people. Now he was nothing. The battle played in his mind again. It always played. He could not stop it. The rogue AI fleet had come out of nowhere. Thousands of ships moving together like one terrible mind. His unit had been caught in the trap. 300 warriors, the finest soldiers in the Empire. He watched them die, one by one. He heard their screams in his memory. He saw their light go out. His oldest friend had died in his arms. Myra, the young soldier who always made jokes, had been torn apart by machine claws. Commander Thane had ordered the retreat too late. The AI had been waiting. It was always waiting. In the end, only survived. The rescue ships found him floating in the wreckage, holding his body. His armor was broken. His left arm was gone, severed below the elbow, and his light was dead. The doctors at the military hospital had tried everything. Medicine, surgery, therapy, nothing worked. His body healed, but his spirit did not. After 3 months, they gave up. They wrote Hora on his file and sent him here, to Horizon 7, to the Forgotten Station, to die quietly where no one would have to watch. They did not believe in mercy killing. It was against their code. But they also did not believe in wasting resources on the dead. So they sent their broken warriors to places like this and waited for nature to finish its work. Sat on the bed. The mattress groaned under his weight. He looked at his remaining hand, at the 4 claws that could still kill. He had thought about using them on himself, but he could not. His body refused. Some part of him, some stupid, stubborn part, kept breathing, kept existing. He hated that part. A nurse came with food. She was a different species, tall and thin with blue skin and large eyes. She put the tray on the table near his bed. She did not look at him. She did not speak to him. She left quickly and the door sealed behind her. Looked at the food. It was paste. Gray paste in a gray bowl, he pushed it away. He was not hungry. He had not been hungry for months. Eating felt like a lie. It was pretending that tomorrow mattered. It did not. Days passed, or maybe weeks. Time had no meaning here. The lights in the ceiling turned on and off to create fake days and nights, but did not care. He sat by the window. He lay on the bed. He stared at nothing. Sometimes he heard sounds from other rooms, coughing, crying. Once he heard a long, terrible scream that ended suddenly. The next day he saw workers carrying a covered body down the hallway. The workers did not look sad. This was normal for them. People died here all the time. A doctor came to check on him once. The doctor was an older male with gray hair and tired eyes. He scanned with a medical device and looked at the results. He sighed. "No change," the doctor said to his assistant. "Neural pathway degradation is continuing. Bioluminescent nodes are completely inactive. Estimated time remaining is uncertain. Could be weeks, could be months. File it under palliative care. No intervention needed." The assistant nodded and made notes. Neither of them spoke to. They talked about him like he was furniture, like he was already dead. Maybe he was. That night had the dream again. He was back on the battlefield. The stars were on fire. Ships exploded around him. He heard calling his name. He tried to reach him, but his arms would not move. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. He watched die again, and again, and again. He woke up with his claws buried in the mattress. He had torn it apart. Stuffing floated in the air like snow. His chest heaved. His heart pounded, but his veins stayed dark. He could not even feel the rage anymore. He could not feel anything. There was only emptiness, a vast, cold nothing that filled every part of him. He looked out the window at the stars. They were beautiful. He remembered when he used to love them. He remembered when the universe felt like an adventure, full of wonder and glory. Now it just looked cold, empty, pointless. He placed his claw against the glass. The cold seeped into his plates. He imagined floating out there in the void, silent and peaceful. No more dreams, no more memories, no more pain. But the glass was too strong, and he was too weak. He let his claw drop. He returned to the bed. He lay down on the torn mattress and closed his eyes. He did not sleep. He just waited for the end that would not come. In the hallway, a maintenance worker walked past his door. She glanced at the warning sign, "Horror, do not engage." She shook her head and kept walking. Everyone on the station knew about the warrior in Ward 17. Everyone knew he was beyond help. And everyone stayed away. The shuttle from Earth arrived on a Tuesday. It was a small ship, old and patched in many places, carrying supplies and new staff for Horizon 7. Most of the passengers were medical workers who had failed to get better jobs. They looked tired and disappointed as they walked through the docking bay. But one passenger was different. Her name was. She was 23 years old, small and thin, with long black hair that she kept tied behind her head. Her eyes were dark brown and warm, like wood near a fire. She carried one bag over her shoulder and smiled at everything she saw. The other passengers thought she was strange. Who smiled at a place like this? Was a volunteer from Earth's Outreach Corps. She had signed up to help at stations across the galaxy at the places nobody else wanted to go. Her friends back home had called her crazy. Her family had worried, but believed that everyone deserved care. Everyone deserved kindness. Even the forgotten ones, especially the forgotten ones. The head nurse met her at the entrance to the medical wing. Her name was Supervisor, and she was a tall alien with pale green skin and eyes that never blinked. She looked at like she was looking at a bug. "You are the human volunteer," said. It was not a question. "Yes," said, "I am here to help." Made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Help, yes, we will see." She turned and walked quickly down the hallway. "Follow me, I will show you your assignment." They walked through the station, noticed how gray everything was. The walls, the floors, the lights, Even the people seemed gray. Nobody smiled. Nobody talked to each other. They just moved from place to place like machines. "This is the main ward," said, pointing at a large room full of beds. "Critical patients. Do not enter without permission." They walked further. The hallway became older. The lights flickered. "This is Ward 17, said. "Your assignment." Looked around. The walls here had cracks. The air was cold. Some of the doors were sealed with heavy locks. Warning signs were everywhere. "What kind of patients are here?" asked. "Terminal cases," said. "Patients with no hope of recovery. We keep them comfortable until they die. That is all." Felt her heart sink, but she nodded. "I understand." "Do you?" stared at her. "Humans are new to the galaxy. You think you can fix everything with your feelings and your hope, but some things cannot be fixed. Some patients cannot be saved. You will learn this, or you will break. Either way, it is not my problem." She handed a data pad with patient information and walked away. Stood alone in the cold hallway. She took a deep breath. Then she began to read. There were 12 patients in Ward 17. Most were old. Most had diseases that could not be cured. Their files were short and simple. Palliative care only. No intervention needed. The same words again and again. Then she found one file that was different. Patient species. Condition horror. Notes: do not engage, dangerous, no treatment possible. Frowned, she read more. She learned about the battle. She learned about the 300 warriors who died. She learned about the sole survivor who had lost his light. She walked down the hallway until she found his door. The warning sign was bigger here, red letters on black background. Horror, do not engage. She looked through the small window in the door. The room was dark. She could see a shape on the bed, a massive shape covered in black plates. He was not moving. "You should stay away from that one." Turned, a young nurse stood behind her. He had 4 arms and worried eyes. "Why?" asked. They are warriors, killers, and he has horror. His mind is gone. He could attack at any moment. Last week he tore his bed apart with his claws." Looked back at the window. "Has anyone talked to him?" The nurse looked confused. "Talk to him? Why would anyone talk to him? He is beyond help." Did not answer. She just stared at the dark shape in the room. That night after her first shift ended, went to the station's library. It was a small room with old computers. She searched for information about She read about their culture, their history, their biology. She learned about the bioluminescent veins that showed their emotions. She learned about horror, the death of the spirit. Every article said the same thing. Horror was permanent. No treatment existed. They had studied it for thousands of years and found no cure. Closed the computer. She sat in the dark library and thought. The next evening after her shift, she walked to his room. She stood outside the door for a long time. Her heart was beating fast. She was scared. The nurse was right. Could kill her easily. His claws could cut through her body like paper. But she thought about him lying there alone, day after day, week after week, with no one to talk to, no one to care, just waiting to die in a cold room while everyone stayed away. She opened the door. The room was dark. She could hear breathing, slow, heavy breathing. She could see his eyes in the shadows, 2 pools of black that reflected no light. She pulled the chair close to his bed and sat down. For a long time she said nothing. She just sat there. The silence was thick and heavy. She could feel him watching her, waiting, maybe waiting for her to run like everyone else. She did not run. "My name is," she said finally. Her voice was soft and steady. "I am from Earth. It is a small planet very far from here. I will be working in this ward from now on." He said nothing. He did not move. "I know you probably want to be alone," she continued. "And I know you cannot talk, or maybe you do not want to talk. That is okay. You do not have to say anything, but I wanted you to know that I am here, and I will come back tomorrow." She sat for a few more minutes. Then she stood up and walked to the door. She looked back at him. His eyes were still watching her. His claws were curled against his chest. His veins were dark and dead. "Good night," she said. She left, the door closed behind her. Lay in the darkness. He stared at the ceiling. He did not understand what had just happened. No one came into his room. No one talked to him. The other species feared him. His own people had abandoned him. But this small, soft creature had walked in like it was nothing. She had sat beside him. She had spoken his name. He told himself it did not matter. She would not come back. They never came back. But the next evening the door opened again, and there she was. The human called. She sat in the same chair. She smiled at him. "Hello," she said. "I told you I would come back." She talked about her day, about the other patients, about a funny thing that happened in the cafeteria. Her voice was gentle and warm. She did not seem to expect him to answer. She just talked like they were old friends. When she left, she said good night again. She came back the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Did not understand. He did not know what she wanted. He did not know why she kept coming. But somewhere deep inside him, in a place he thought was dead, something very small began to stir, something that felt almost like curiosity. He pushed it away. It did not matter. Nothing mattered. But when the door opened the next evening, he found himself turning his head to look. Just a little. 3 weeks passed, came every evening without fail. She talked about everything. She told him about Earth, about the blue oceans and green mountains. She told him about her childhood in a small town by the sea, about the sound of waves crashing on rocks. She told him about her grandmother who made soup when was sick, about her little brother who always stole her food. Never spoke, but he listened. She noticed small changes in him. On the first week, he would not look at her. He stared at the ceiling or the wall, anywhere but at her. But by the second week, his head would turn slightly when she entered. By the third week, his eyes followed her as she moved around the room. His claws stopped digging into the mattress. His breathing slowed when she talked. Once, when she laughed at her own joke, she thought she saw his chest plates shift, just a little, like he was trying to understand. The other staff thought she was wasting her time. "He is not getting better," supervisor said one morning. "His scans show no improvement. His neural pathways are still degrading. You are spending hours with a patient who cannot recover." "He listens to me," said. "He is a predator watching prey, that is all." "No," said firmly. "It is different, I can feel it." Shook her head. "Humans, you see what you want to see. They have studied horror for 4,000 years. They have the best doctors in the galaxy. If they say it is incurable, it is incurable. Your feelings do not change biology." Said nothing. She went back to work. That evening she brought something with her to his room. It was a small device, a music player from Earth. She set it on the table and pressed a button. Soft music filled the room. It was a simple song, just a woman singing with a guitar, a song about the sea. His head turned toward the sound. "This is from my home," said. "My mother used to sing this song to me when I was a child. When I was scared or sad, she would hold me and sing." The music played, sat in her chair. She closed her eyes and hummed along. When she opened her eyes, was looking at her, really looking. His black eyes were focused on her face, and in those depths she saw something, a flicker, a question. She smiled at him. "Did you like it?" He did not answer, but he did not look away either. The next night she brought the music again, and the night after that. She played different songs from Earth, happy songs, sad songs, peaceful songs. Listened to all of them. One evening she noticed something strange. A tiny spot of blue light under his chest plates, so faint she almost missed it. It flickered for just a second, then went dark again. Her heart jumped. She did not say anything. She was afraid that if she pointed it out, it would disappear forever. But inside, she felt hope blooming like a flower in spring. Then the bad night came. was walking towards room when she heard the alarm. Red lights flashed in the hallway. Security officers ran past her, holding weapons. She grabbed one of them. "What is happening?" Though the officer said, "He is having an episode, stay back." Ran toward the room. She pushed through the crowd of nurses and doctors gathered at the door. Inside, she saw chaos. Was in the corner of the room. He was crouched like a wild animal. His remaining claw slashed at the air. His chest was heaving. Strange sounds came from his throat, not words, just raw pain. He was back in the battle. She could see it in his eyes. He was not here anymore. He was somewhere else, somewhere terrible, watching his friends die all over again. "Prepare the sedation darts," someone ordered. "We need to knock him out before he hurts himself or others." No, pushed forward. "Wait, let me try." Supervisor grabbed her arm. "Are you insane? He will kill you." "He will not," pulled free. "I know he will not." She walked into the room. Everyone went silent. The security officers raised their weapons. The doctors held their breath. They all watched the small human girl walk toward the massive alien warrior who was lost in nightmare. Saw movement. His head snapped toward her, his claw raised, his body tensed to strike. In his mind, she was probably an enemy, another machine coming to kill him. Stopped. She was close enough to touch him now, close enough to die. She said softly, "It is me, it is." He froze, his claw hung in the air. "You are not there anymore," she continued. Her voice was calm and gentle like water in a quiet stream. "The battle is over. You are here, at Horizon 7, in your room, and I am with you." His breathing was still fast. His body was still shaking, but he did not attack. "I am going to come closer now," she said. "I am not going to hurt you. I just want to be near you. Is that okay?" She took a step forward, then another. The security officers behind her were shouting something, but she did not hear them. The whole world had become very small, just her, and nothing else mattered. She kneeled in front of him. She was so small compared to him. Her head barely reached his chest. His claw could cut her in half with one swing. She reached out and took his claw in both hands. His claw was massive, cold and hard with edges like knives. It had killed hundreds, maybe thousands. It was a weapon of war built for death and destruction. But held it gently, like it was something precious. "Don't let go," she said. Something changed in his eyes. The wildness faded. The nightmare released him. He was coming back. And then it happened. A pulse of light, faint blue flickering under his chest plates, then another pulse, and another, weak and unsteady but there. His veins were glowing again. Everyone in the hallway gasped. Looked down at his chest. He saw the light. His whole body went still. For a moment he could not understand what he was seeing. His light had been dead for so long, he had forgotten what it looked like. He looked at, she was crying. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she was smiling. A huge, beautiful smile that lit up her whole face. "There you are," she whispered. "I knew you were still in there." His claw, the weapon of war, the thing that had caused so much death, curled gently around her small hands. Not to hurt, not to threaten, just to hold. He did not let go. The doctors and nurses watched in stunned silence. This was impossible. This went against everything they knew about biology. The dead did not come back to life. The light did not return. But the evidence was right in front of them, flickering, unsteady but real. Opened his mouth. His voice was rough and broken. He had not spoken in months, but he forced the sounds out. "Enough." "Her name," he said her name. Laughed through her tears. She squeezed his claw. "Yes," she said, "I am here. I am not going anywhere." They stayed like that for a long time. The small human and the broken warrior, holding onto each other in a cold room at the edge of the galaxy. Outside, the stars shone in the endless darkness of space, but in that room there was light. Just a little, but enough. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. A warrior had recovered from horror. The impossible had happened. The dead had returned to life. At first, nobody believed it. The medical community laughed. The Empire released a statement saying it was a mistake, a false reading, human error. Horror was permanent. This was established fact. 4,000 years of science could not be wrong. But then the video appeared. Someone at Horizon 7 had recorded its episode and its intervention. They leaked it to the Galactic Network. Millions watched the small human girl walk toward the raging alien warrior. Millions watched her take his claw. Millions watched the light flicker back to life in his chest. The video was watched over 2 billion times in the first week. Scientists demanded access to. Politicians made speeches. News reporters arrived at Horizon 7 in ships of every size. The Forgotten Station was suddenly the most famous place in the galaxy. And the Empire was not happy. Commander arrived 1 month after the incident. His ship was a warship, sleek and black, with weapons that could destroy a planet. He brought 50 soldiers with him. They marched through the station like they owned it. Was old for a but still powerful. His plates were covered in scars from 100 battles. His eyes were hard as stone. His bioluminescence glowed a steady, cold blue. He demanded to see immediately. The meeting happened in the station's conference room. Sat on one side of the table, sat on the other, stood behind, her hand resting on his shoulder. The station administrators stood in the corners, afraid to speak. Stared at for a long time. His expression was impossible to read. "Show me," he said finally. Hesitated. Then he closed his eyes. Slowly, weakly, his bioluminescence began to glow. Blue light pulsed under his plates. It was faint and uneven, but it was there. His claw tightened on the table. The metal bent under his grip. "How?" he asked. Opened his eyes. "I do not know. The doctors say your neural pathways have stopped degrading. They say new connections are forming. They say you are healing." Leaned forward. "This is not possible. Horror destroys the spirit. It cannot be repaired. And yet here I am." His gaze moved too. He looked at her like she was an insect, something small and annoying. "You," he said, "the human, what did you do to him?" Met his eyes without fear. "I visited him, I talked to him, I stayed with him. That is all. That is all." Made a sound of disgust. "Impossible, you must have used some technology, some drug, some trick." "I used none of those things." "Then explain how a creature like you healed something that the greatest doctors of our empire could not." The room went silent, took a breath. "I did not heal him," she said. "I just did not leave him alone." Stared at her, then he laughed. It was a cold, bitter sound. "You humans are fools. You think your feelings can change the universe. You think kindness is a weapon." He stood up. His soldiers moved closer. "This changes nothing, is still. He belongs to the Empire. He will return with us for proper examination." "No." Everyone turned, had spoken. He was standing now. His full height, 8 feet of black plates and sharp edges. His veins pulsed stronger. "I am not going anywhere," he said. His eyes narrowed. "You dare refuse a direct order?" "I do." "You are a soldier of the Empire. You swore an oath." "I swore to protect our people, to serve with honor." His voice was steady. "I watched 300 of our brothers and sisters die while the Empire did nothing. When I survived, broken and lost, the Empire sent me here to die alone. No help, no hope, just a cold room and silence." He looked at, his gaze softened. "She gave me something the Empire never did. She gave me a reason to keep breathing. She stayed when everyone else left. She held my claw when I was drowning in darkness." He turned back to, "You speak of loyalty, but loyalty goes both ways. The Empire abandoned me. She saved me." His plates shifted with rage. His bioluminescence flashed red. "You shame us," he said. A great warrior saved by a soft creature from a primitive world. You should have died with honor instead of letting this human touch you. Stepped forward. He was taller than, broader, and for the first time in months he looked like the warrior he used to be. She did not make me weak, he said. She showed me that strength is not just about killing. It is about surviving. It is about finding light in the darkness. It is about holding onto someone when everything is falling apart. His bioluminescence changed. It shifted from blue to something else, something warmer, a deep golden glow that spread across his chest. Stepped back, his eyes went wide. Among the gold meant only one thing. It was the color of bonded pairs, the color of deep, unbreakable connection. It was sacred, it was rare, and it was impossible to fake. "What is this?" whispered. "I do not know," said, "but I know what it means. I am not the same warrior who came to this station. I am something new, and I will not let you or anyone else take that away." The room was silent, looked from to and back again. His soldiers shifted nervously. They had expected a simple mission. Take the patient, return home, let the scientists study him. They had not expected this. Finally spoke. "The council will hear of this," he said. "They will decide what to do with you." "Let them," said. "I will speak to them myself. I will tell them what happened here, and I will ask them a question they will not want to answer." "What question?" Golden light pulsed. "How many warriors have we abandoned? How many lives have we thrown away because we believed recovery was impossible? How many could we have saved if we had just stayed with them?" Had no answer. He turned and walked toward the door. His soldiers followed. At the door he paused. He looked back at. "You have no idea what you have started, human. The things you believe, the things you teach, they will spread. They will change everything. Our culture, our traditions, thousands of years of history." Nodded. "I know," she said. "That is the point." Left, his ship departed an hour later, but his words echoed in everyone's minds. Word spread even faster after that. Human scientists arrived to study what had done. They had a word for it: presence, the therapeutic power of simply being there, of not leaving, of holding on. It was not medicine. It was not technology. It was something simpler, something that many species had forgotten in their rush to conquer the stars. Connection. The galaxy began to pay attention to humans in a new way, not as weak creatures with soft bodies and short lives, but as something else, something unexpected. Beings who stayed. And that, as it turned out, was worth more than all the weapons in the universe. 1 year passed. The galaxy was different now, not completely different. Change takes time, even in the stars, but seeds had been planted and they were beginning to grow. Stood at the window of a transport ship, watching a planet grow larger below him. It was a world, one of the colony planets where wounded warriors were sent to wait for death. The same kind of place where he had been sent, the same cold rooms, the same silence. But not anymore. He was not alone on the ship. 24 humans traveled with him, volunteers from Earth's Outreach Corps. They were young, most of them, idealistic, ready to sit beside broken warriors and say the words that had heard from. "I am here, I will not leave." After his report, the council had debated for months. Some wanted to ignore what had happened. They called it an accident, a mistake, a one-time event. But others looked at the evidence and asked questions. What if we were wrong? What if horror could be treated? What if we had been abandoning our warriors for 4,000 years when we could have saved them? The arguments were fierce. Traditions were sacred to the change was dangerous, but the video of recovery had spread too far. The questions had grown too loud. Finally, reluctantly, the council agreed to a trial program. Human counselors would be allowed into recovery stations. They would work alongside healers. They would try to do what had volunteered to lead the program. "Are you ready?" asked Myra, one of the human counselors. She was young, with short hair and curious eyes. She reminded of sometimes. "No," said honestly, "but I am going anyway." Myra smiled. "That sounds like something would say." Nodded. His bioluminescence glowed steady gold. It had not faded since that night in his room. The doctors said it was permanent now, a mark of what had happened, a sign of what he had become. They landed on the planet an hour later. The recovery station was exactly as remembered. Gray walls, cold air, sealed doors with warning signs, warriors in dark rooms staring at nothing, waiting to die. But today, those doors would open. Walked through the hallways with the human counselors behind him. The station staff watched in confusion. They had received orders from the council, but they still did not understand. What could these soft creatures do? How could they help warriors who had lost everything? They stopped at the first door. The sign read Patient 7, Hora, do not engage. Looked at Myra. "This one is yours." Myra nodded. She took a breath, then she opened the door. The room was dark. A massive lay on the bed. His plates were cracked. His veins were dead. He did not move when the door opened. He had given up long ago. Myra walked in. She pulled a chair close to the bed. She sat down. "Hello," she said softly. "My name is Myra. I am from Earth. I am going to sit with you for a while if that is okay." The warrior did not respond, but saw his head turn slightly, just a little, just enough. The door closed. Myra would stay for hours. She would come back tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. Maybe it would work. Maybe it would not, but she would not give up. None of them would. Move to the next room, and the next, and the next, door after door opening. Humans walking in with gentle voices and patient hearts, seeds being planted in dark soil. Change was slow, but it was happening. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other species were watching. They saw the news from the worlds. They saw the impossible recoveries. They began to study humans more carefully. Not their technology, not their weapons, something else. Their psychology, their culture, their strange belief that everyone deserved care, even the broken ones, even the hopeless ones, even the ones who could offer nothing in return. It was inefficient, it was illogical, it did not make sense. But it worked. Human counselors began appearing on stations throughout the galaxy. They sat with the dying. They held the claws of the forgotten. They stayed when everyone else left. And slowly, the galaxy began to learn a new word. Hope. On the anniversary of their first meeting, returned to Horizon 7. The station had changed. It was cleaner now, better funded. The lights did not flicker anymore. Ward 17 had been renamed. It was now called the Wing. She had protested, of course. She did not like the attention. She did not think she had done anything special, but the station had insisted, and so had. He found her in the same corridor where they had met. She was older now, 24. There were lines around her eyes that had not been there before. Her hair had a few gray streaks from stress and long nights. But her smile was the same, warm and bright like sunlight on water. "You came back," she said. "I always come back." She laughed. It was the same laugh he had heard 1,000 times, the laugh that had pulled him out of the darkness, the most beautiful sound in the universe. "How is the program going?" she asked. "Slowly," he admitted. "It is hard work. Many do not respond, some are too far gone, but others—" He paused. His light pulsed golden. "Others are finding their way back, like I did." His eyes shone with tears. "I am so proud of you." "You should not be proud of me. I am only doing what you taught me." "What did I teach you?" Kneeled. This was the greatest gesture of respect. A warrior never kneeled except before those they honored above all others. "You taught me that staying is the bravest thing anyone can do," he said. "You taught me that holding on is more powerful than fighting. You taught me that even the smallest light can push back the darkness." He took her hand in his claw, gently, carefully, like he was holding something precious. "I never let go," he said, "just like you told me." Squeezed his claw. Tears ran down her face, but she was smiling. "Neither did I." They stayed like that for a long moment. The small human and the massive warrior. Two creatures from different worlds, different species, different lives, bound together by something stronger than blood or duty. Connection. Outside, the stars shone in the endless darkness, but in the wing of Horizon 7 there was light, golden and warm and steady. And across the galaxy, in cold rooms and forgotten stations, other lights were beginning to flicker. Other warriors were beginning to wake. Other hands were being held. The humans had done what they always did. They had refused to give up. They had stayed when logic said to leave. They had hoped when hope was foolish. And the galaxy would never be the same. Stood up, he looked out the window at the stars he had once conquered. They looked different now, not cold and empty, but full of possibility. "What happens next?" asked. Smiled. It was still strange for him to smile. His plates did not move the same way human faces did, but he was learning. "We keep going," he said. "One room at a time, one hand at a time, one light at a time." Nodded, she took his claw again. "Together." His golden light blazed bright. "Together." They walked down the corridor side by side, the small human and the great warrior, the healer and the healed. And somewhere in the darkness of space, a new star was born. It burned gold against the black sky, a tiny point of light in the endless void. But even the smallest light can push back the darkness. If you hold on long enough. If you refuse to let go.